What's going on, people? Back again for another video. Today we're going to be doing another weekly market review. If you guys are new to the channel, every Wednesday we're going to be taking a look at coins or the charts chosen specifically by you guys. This show is specifically for TA only, so there's no fundamentals here, just going to be looking at charts and that's about it. If you guys are interested in any coins to look at for next week's review, please just hit us up in the comments below. Now, before we get started, just a little disclaimer as always, all views and opinions expressed in these videos are for educational purposes only and should not be considered as financial advice in any way, shape or form. Before we get started on the actual analysis itself, just wanted to go over the giveaway that we did recently. Going to choose the winner today on air. So we basically did a giveaway for 0.01 BTC. Few stipulations involved. I've got a name of all the users who entered successfully. So we're going to go ahead and choose the winner live on air. So drum roll, whatever. So yep, congratulations at Rabitco. You are the winner of this week's or this month's giveaway. 0.01 BTC on its way to you. I will message you later on tonight. Let's get that arranged and get that prize fund sent over to you. Big congratulations to Mr. Rabitco. So coming back to the market review, just picking up on a few things from last week. Just looking at my notes here. So we looked at BTC, looked at ETH, looked at Monero, I think it was Binance Coin and Pirate Chain. So I think moving forward every week, I'm going to stick to a core of about 3 coins that we look at ourselves, and then the rest will be chosen by the community. Thanks to everyone who watched last week's show, but unfortunately we only had 13 views. Now I know you guys can do better than that, so if you want to see clean charts with no indicators and no lines, then this is definitely the show for you. One of my followers also asked on how to draw a fib extension and retracement. So I decided that I'm going to make an educational series over the next couple of weeks and months to show you guys how to use all the tools, indicators and available lines on TradingView. Personally, I've been charting for 6 years now, and I can definitely resonate with you guys out there who maybe are a few months or years in. Sometimes it's difficult to know which candles to choose, what you're looking at, etc, etc. Trust me guys, charting definitely gets easier in time. You just need to find what works for you. So just while we're talking on this, let me just do the fib extensions and retracements. So my good friend Sir Salty the First. So we'll start off with a fib retracement. Or an extension even. So what we always do is look for the highest swing high. People use the body or the wick. Now I'm a wick guy and the body I don't really like. And then what we do, we take that level and we look for the most recent swing low, and there you go. You basically just anchor from high to low and you've now got your fib level set up. If you're doing it from high to low, you're looking for a retracement back into this level. We'll talk about that on the educational series, but these are the levels that I use. So 61.8 to 78.6 is like that golden zone with your OTE at 70.5. So that's when you're looking from high to low. Conversely, if you want to do a low to a high, all you do is just do it the other way around. So what we're doing, we're going to take the low here, I'm going to take it up to the high, and all we're going to do is look for the retracement back into the golden zone. So lo and behold, I didn't even try this before. I usually just tend to do these things by eye now, but you can see that this kind of lines up nicely. So if you were just a long-term trader, you know, you could easily take this fib from the low of last year to last year's high, just sit it in place and say, right, I'm not going to do anything until price comes back down to these levels, and that's when I'll start taking interest. So that's for you, Sir Salty the First. If that's helped, please just let me know. If you want any more things looking at, again, just let me know. We can get these together for the educational series. So now we've got that out of the way, let's go ahead and take a look at the first pair we're going to look at today, which incidentally is the BTC USD pair. So I've currently got it on a daily chart, but let's zoom out to a weekly and start off from there. So levels we talked about last week, or just touching on what we talked about last week, you can see this consolidation phase here over the last few weeks. We mentioned that price had bounced off this weekly bullish breaker. So we kind of mentioned that it dipped in twice, the second time running the first stops, and then retraced immediately the next day, sharp move on the 17th of December, or the 18th, sorry, on the move back up. We talked about a clean break of 7,800 as an area to watch out for on the upside. And as we can see, price is pretty much broken through this nice and cleanly, currently trading around the $8,100 mark. Now, the next areas of interest on the upside include reclaiming this weekly bullish bearish order block that we can see highlighted here. And we're going to be looking to kind of break through this opening price, which is 82.50, let's say, and seeing if we can push through the mean threshold of this candle, which is a level of 8,900. Now, the first thing we can see immediately, price is pushed up here and slightly rejected, but I think let's zoom into a daily chart so we can get a better idea of what's actually happened. So as we talked about, as we see this accumulation zone, or this weekly bullish breaker zone highlighted here, we can see prices dipped in, moved away, dipped in, moved away. So definitely a valid breaker. We can also see that price broke through that 7,800 level as mentioned. It's now filling in this inefficiency in the market, so we didn't really see any testing of this level when price broke down. It's just literally a clean breakdown, a few tests up, but nothing really in this zone. So as mentioned, we touched this weekly level. I would say it would be interesting to see how price now reacts. I mean, we're already a price move of $400 on the day, so interesting to see the next couple of days and weeks. Now, just looking from I can see potential resistance from the previous support here, 8,600, maybe up to 9,200, potentially turning into resistance. And there's also confluence for that those levels kind of mixed in with the weekly order block that we mentioned. As we can see on the daily chart, that's kind of then broken down into several smaller daily order blocks. We can see the prime one set here. Price moved down, it then retraced, tested the opening and the low, moved away swiftly. Similar situation here with this candle. So what we'll be looking to see is how price reacts when it starts touching these zones. As mentioned, I think 9,200 will be that next level that I'll be looking at as a clean breakout. Now, just on the downside, what we could potentially be looking at is price testing this previous resistance and now then flipping it back into support, and also potentially price moving back into this bullish order block here, which the open is 71.74, so we could say maybe 71.50 to 200. We can see quite clearly there's two bullish engulfing candles here the next day following these bullish order blocks, so definitely valid. And as you can see, price dipped back into that and moved away. So we can definitely say these are valid order blocks. And then a final thing, we have a nice short-term market structure here. It seems like the bottom may have been found in terms of a short term. How do we describe that? So you're always looking for like a W-style structure at the bottom, or to indicate that. So that's basically price moving down, a retrace, then a test of the previous move down, and then a move away. So, that's definitely something nice to see on the chart. Now, the final thing for this in terms of fundamentals, we don't really want to cover fundamentals in this show, but I think it's worth mentioning in the case of Bitcoin. Since last week's review, there's been an escalation between the US and Iran, leading to an increase in global oil, gold, and Bitcoin prices. So it'll be very interesting to keep an eye on developments over the next few weeks and see how this affects Bitcoin in particular. I've been around for 6 years. I can't remember any global conflicts in that time that have been super serious. So I guess this would kind of be unprecedented. I mean, the only thing we can remind back to is the Greek Brexit, so to speak, or Grexit as they called it. Anyone who's around in 2015 remembers how that went. So that's Bitcoin, my thoughts on Bitcoin. Any comments, please leave them in the comments below. Any thoughts and ideas, please feel free to share them. Just before I move on to the next pair, I really want to highlight the fact that I use nice and clean charts. You can pretty much gauge everything from price action on the charts. It's not necessary for you to use 10, 20, 100 indicators on charts to get a bias. All you're doing by placing extra information on the chart is just kind of giving you more to look at and confusing you a little bit more. So yeah, that's my little bit of a rant about charts and clean lines. So moving on to the next coin, apologies, I've got someone calling. So moving on to the next coin, gonna have a quick look at ETH. So if we go ahead and pull up the ETH chart, right now it's on a daily, but let me go to a weekly and we'll go from there. So I think one thing we mentioned when we were talking previously, last week's review, was the breakdown into this weekly order block level here of around about 115. Unfortunately, the price never reached down, but it's definitely an area of interest, and we can see price moved away since, moved into a small consolidation period. The other thing we mentioned on the last week's review was a move up into potentially taking out highs at around the 150 level. We unfortunately didn't reach that yet with 148, but it's kind of definitely going to along the lines of what we mentioned. Now, the first thing that's visible when you look at this pair compared to BTC on a weekly, it's not really mimicking the same level of strength in terms of price action, so that's quite clear. That may be due to the fundamental news that I mentioned, and also the fact that BTC is the most popular coin for people to use as a transfer of currency or store of wealth. So yeah, that's definitely something to bear in mind. Now, if we move down onto a daily chart, just to refine this a little bit, I've marked out some levels. We can see that the recent highs shown here were taken out, and price moved into a potential area of resistance, just highlighted by the opening and the low of this daily order block here. So that's like the 146 to 147 level. Price reached a high today of 148 and then was swiftly rejected. You can now see like a $10 move from that price. So it's pretty much rejected at the first attempt. Now, market structure showing a similar alignment with BTC, just not as strong. So as we mentioned, BTC is a market leader and ETH usually follows. What am I talking about? So as you can see, it's got like a W shape here. Draw that on. Nice market structure. But again, right now, just keep an eye out before actually taking any position. On the downside, we want to be keeping an eye on reclaiming previous resistance here as support. So that's going to be around about that 130 to 135 level. This order block here, this daily order block, opens at 130. So again, definitely an area of interest on the downside. So that's price action for Ethereum. Any comments or any ideas, please let us know in the comments below. Now I'm going to go ahead and move on to our next pair, which is Monero. Now, Monero is probably the one coin that stood out to us last week when we did the review. The reason being, if we zoom out to a weekly chart, we can see that price returned to the long-term accumulation levels before its previous breakout, which is around about that 43 to 48 level. So we could just say 45 to 50 is a round number. People are going to ask me, where did I get those numbers from? So here is the weekly order block that was first put in for a bullish, or this is a bullish order block. So for a bullish order block, you always look at the opening price and the high. So the opening on this is $48 and the low was 38. So we've got the opening and the high, and we always take a midpoint as well. So midpoint is around about $43. So we've marked these two price points, 43 and 48 as the open, but you can just as much go with 45 and 50 as round numbers. As we can see, price reacted when it moved into this level. We talked about taking out these previous lows. Price reacted after its second dip in and moved away quite swiftly, testing another order block on the upside, a bearish one at the level of $57 to $60. Price kind of rejected that at its first attempt, but if price reclaims this order block, then the next area of upside we'll be looking at, let's take this down to a daily so you can see a little bit better. Next area of upside we'll be looking at is taking out these highs here at 67, moving into this weekly order block level that we said between 70 and 72. To the downside, now this is something really important to bear in mind. I'm going to spend a few minutes talking about this because I think it's just something for anyone who's new-ish into investing, trading, charting, whatever. Always kind of good to look at this from a longer-term picture. So now there may be some of you who are watching and saying, oh no, I watched this video last week and I can see Digi talking quite clearly on the 1st of January about how this is an accumulation period. Now price has moved away. Am I too late? No, not at all. Let's go back to the same period last year. Let's see what actually happened then. So as we can see, this was another similar situation. Price moved into another previous order block, moved away. But as you can see, it then keeps coming back down to these levels. It gives users the opportunity to reaccumulate. Price did not move in a straight line away from here. So you had 1, 2, 3, 4 chances before price actually moved away without return. And significantly enough, users had like a month period where price returned, consolidated and accumulated in this zone for a whole month. So if we're looking at price doing something similar now, we can quite confidently say that, don't FOMO into this. Price is more likely than not likely to return to this like $50 level as a minimum, and then potentially dip into this order block or again for a sustained period of time of a few weeks and a few months. Price rarely moves up in straight lines, especially in long-term periods of accumulation. So our advice can be set, alerts at $51 and below and go from there. So that's Monero. Go ahead and move on to the next pair we're going to take a look at, which is the Dash USD pair. Now, recently did a wallet review for Dash EvoNet this week, so thought it would be a nice chance for us to then take a look at price action as well. Been a long time since I've looked at price for Dash, so I'm not actually sure which price chart to use. I'm going to use Bittrex because that's one of the oldest exchanges where it's listed. Yeah, got plenty of price information here. So first thing that stands out for the Dash chart, let's pull it up on a weekly. So the first thing that really stands out on the Dash chart is you can really see quite clearly that it's broken its lows of 2019, which were around about $55. We're now kind of looking to kind of break this long-term level that stood out. So not many pairs have actually broken their lows of 2019. I think in terms of larger cap coins like Dash, this is the only one that comes to mind. Now, I've marked out the daily bullish order block, or have I? No, it seems like I've done it on another chart. So let me pull that up. I think it's on Polynex. Yeah, there we go. So I've marked out the daily bullish order block from the last previous level of accumulation. Those levels were around about 75 to 106, so 106. So as we can see, price is now kind of hovering around this $50 mark, so it significantly broke that order block, so no longer valid. But I think one thing we do want to take a look at is the sweeping of these lows and how price is potentially going to react now that new lows have been set in and moving out from there. So if I just refer to my notes, let's have a look, see what I noted down. So as we can see, these lows were swept. Price has kind of been wicking down in that range. since, so kind of not really had any sort of close around there. Seems like the close of the bodies are around about this 44 level with a low of 38, 37. Just zooming into a daily chart just so we can get a better idea of market structure and go from there. So as we can see straight away, it stands out nicely on the chart. This W market structure that I've been talking about, literally simple as that. Taken out the old highs here, so definitely a break in market structure on the cards. Just pull that back up. So we can see that, you know, maybe some short-term accumulation has taken place between this like 40 and 45 zone. Price has since moved away and recently take out the short-term highs we mentioned at $59. Next areas of interest to the upside would definitely kind of look from this $65 to $70 range. You can see lots of support here previously, and it's likely, as you guys know, support turns into resistance when tested. So any areas of interest to the upside are definitely potential resistance. But anyone who knows about Dash knows that price movement can be quite explosive over a few week and month period. So definitely a coin to keep an eye on. In terms of areas for the downside, potentially looking to retest this resistance, see if it turns into support at $45, and also retested this order block here around about that $40, $41 range. So that's price action on Dash. Again, nice to see. It's been a long time since I've looked at this coin. The next few coins we're going to be having a look at are the ones chosen by the lovely folk on Twitter. So let's take a quick look at these while we're at it. I think we'll start off with Beam. So Beam is a coin that we've reviewed on our website. If you guys are interested in a fundamental review of that, please check it out. But today we're just going to have a quick look at the technical analysis. So previous level of accumulation, whoa, that's not good. We can't really see much on here. So Beam USD. Let's see how far we can go. Okay, I'm going to pull up another charting platform to look at this because it doesn't seem like it goes as far back as we'd like. Excuse me, I got a little bit of hiccup. So where are we? Beam USD. There we go. Let's pull up Coin Paprika. So really stands out on us straight away. First thing you can see is the coins had several price cycles for analysis. Most recent one, price kind of hovered between like a $40 and 50 cents and $50 cents range before breaking out on its bull move. We can see prices then since retraced and moved back to this zone twice over the last couple of months. First time it moved to 50 cents, it moved really quickly away, then retraced into this larger zone, hitting a low of 45 cents, which is nice. It's a mid-range of this accumulation range. And price has just kind of been hovering around there since and accumulating. So if you zoom in, the first time it moved to 50 cent level, we had a nice swift move away to like 75 cents or around about that range. We then made new lows in November of last year, hitting this like 45 cents mark, taking out these previous lows and stops. And we can see price since then has kind of been in this range, but it actually seems like nice accumulation to me. So this order block here put in on the 24th of November, price moves away, comes back down, moves away again, comes back down, moves away again. So it seems like, you know, price is accumulating definitely at this level. Just looking at my notes, you can see price is now kind of retraced back into this order block. Some nice kind of double highs put in here around about that 60 cents level. So kind of now in a small consolidation phase for the last 6 weeks. Found resistance at one level, support at another. So next area of interest would be to see if price can take out this resistance. Maybe start looking to test this support as resistance at 65 cents. And then potentially push to break these old highs here around about 78 to 80 cents. Too clean for my liking. Anyone who knows clean highs, clean lows with like a, you know, double kind of pincer like this or whatever they call it, they're just ripe for taking out with stops. So last thing about Beam, fundamentally the project is led by a solid team. Lots of features on their blockchain, as I mentioned. You guys can read the review on their website. The mining reward also recently halved, so it's definitely worth keeping an eye on this coin over the next few weeks and months. So moving ahead to the next coin that was chosen by our followers on Twitter was Nerva, so XNV. I'm going to pull this up. So I don't really know much about this coin. I can only assume it's a small market cap without actually looking at it. So let's just pull up this chart. And okay, so go on a weekly first and then go from there. As you can see, with many altcoins, has a really high printed and then pretty much just bottoms out and then goes from there. Not really much to go off here, I guess, aside from price has pretty much been range bound for the last couple of months. You can see this range probably identifies as like 1 cent to maybe 3 cents. First time it's kind of accumulated in that range, it broke out with reaching a high of 7.7. And then we can see price then retrace back to this range, actually taking out its previous low or thereabouts, so kind of retesting that level. Sorry, let me just pull up my notes again. I'm getting a bit distracted here. So yeah, we can see price kind of then just retested that level. It's been in accumulation zone since. So let's pull up on a daily and actually see what's going on here. So as we talked about, the first low was set in was 0.11 cents. Most recent low was a test of that at 0.11. So we could technically see this as a double bottom, but I won't say it like that because they're two different time periods. We could though, however, look at these two as a double bottom and see how price reacts here. In terms of market structure, we talked about the W, so you can probably see it by eye, but a beautiful short-term bottom market structure formed here with a W. We will probably be better off waiting on the sidelines and seeing what happens here. Just one thing I want to talk about, especially with these smaller market cap altcoins, the resistance for these pretty much is shown by the previous levels of buying. What I mean by that is you get a lot of people who buy altcoins. They then unfortunately either never sell at the peak or they're underwater for a long time. And what usually happens is anytime price comes back to an area where they bought the coin, they are just desperate to sell to make a break even and get out of the coin. So potential areas of resistance I'm looking at here is like this 2 to 3, maybe 4 cents range. There's a lot of buying going in there. So anyone who's underwater at this point probably just wants to get back there and dump. Sometimes what you will find though, and usually at the end of a bear phase in altcoins, usually marked with an exhaustion of sellers and very little resistance on the upside. Now, for the purpose of this review, we're not going to show you how to do that, but what you can do is scan the ask side order book on a particular coin, actually see how much sell pressure is there for this coin to move X amount. Now, I'm going to be making an episode on this in the future, so please keep your eyes peeled for that. Basically show you how to use order books when buying and selling coins. So that's Nerva USD, as I said, to areas of downside, maybe new all-time lows, or tested this range at 1.5 cents. Potentially a lot of resistance here, so not something you want to jump into anytime soon. Next coin I'm going to have a look at is THETA, another coin requested by a follower. So if I can spell it. Not really much to go off here. Price range bound following its bull phase back in early 2019. We can pretty much see this range from like 8 cents to 16. It's kind of just been hovering in that range. I mean, one thing that stands out, it's pretty much been making lower lows and lower highs for the last couple of weeks, but until recently. We recently broke new lows in November of last year. Market structure was bearish at the time, but we can see that the short-term market structure is broken. How can we say that? We can say price has hit higher highs. Let me zoom in. We can say price has hit higher highs, broken this high here, this one here, also this one here. So short-term market structure is broken. Can't see like a W figure as shown before, but you can just see from the market structure in terms of higher highs. price then retraced. We've actually hit a bullish order block since then, and price has then moved away again since, as you can see. So we hit the order block at 8.5 cents. Price moved away to a high of just over 10 cents. So definitely a valid bullish order block. As mentioned earlier, areas of resistance in altcoins tend to tie to previous areas of buying, where users want to sell at a break even, maybe several months later. So we could see potential sustained resistance in this like 10 to 15 cent zone. All these people who bought last year have been sat underwater for months and months. Now with the price of Bitcoin moving, they may just basically want to sell at break even and get out. So that's the THETA token. Moving on to the next one, which is Raven coin. Interestingly enough, this has been out for 2 years now, so it's funny how time flies. Pull up a chart for this. I'm going to start on a weekly, it makes it a little bit easier to zoom down. So just pulling up a weekly chart, we can see several price movements in this coin. Areas of interest pretty much tend to revolve around this 1 to 2 cents area. Just looking at it, you can see a clear long-term downtrend, lower lows printed consistently. Price seems to have printed a double bottom, so we'll zoom in on a daily. Price seems to have printed a double bottom recently at this 2 cents area. So as you can see here, boom, first bottom, second bottom, so double bottom as it's known by. And we can see some gorgeous market structure involved in this as well. So we can see that the first time bounced off this 2 cents range, took out a few highs, but then retraced. We're now in like what you would say potentially a consolidation period, but market structure is looking nice. We're printing higher lows, short-term higher highs. The next potential area of resistance we'll be looking at is this bearish order block at 2.8 cents, call it 3 cents. And you know, looking at taking out all this potential resistance coming up from like that 3 to 4 cents range. So if you want to be looking at this coin, potentially that's an area on the upside that we could be looking at. On the downside, we did test these lows, so there's a double bottom in place. As we mentioned before about the clean highs, same thing can happen with clean lows. So if those lows are taken out, potentially be looking at a return to like this 1 to 1.5 cents range as a next area of price movement. So that's Raven coin. So if we have a look at the next coin that someone asked us to have a look at, it's TRB, which is TELO. For the last couple, I'm just going to whiz through these just to save a little bit of time. I don't want you guys having to watch like a 2-hour video of me waffling on. So let's pull up this TELO coin. First thing I can say by looking at his chart, it seems a relatively new coin. It's only listed on Coin Paprika in November of last year, so like 3 months old, something like that. Pulling up my notes, I can see that there's a short price cycle for analysis on the chart, so it seems like listed here within a month, it pretty much hit its all-time high. We can see that price moved from a range of like $1.50 to $2 all the way up to a high of $8 plus. Personally, I would probably like to see more data on the chart to build a better picture of the project and also get an idea of the fundamentals. But purely basing this on price, I would be anticipating a return to its original accumulation zone. This first daily order block is like at $2.40. Potentially just take this whole $1.50 range to $2.50 range as that area of interest on the downside. For the short term, as we mentioned, price seems to have found support at like this $3 level, as illustrated by like a weekly outlook. You can see, you know, we wick down, wick down, wick down, but pretty much the bodies are closing above this this $3 level. So that's TELO, TRB. I'm going to move ahead onto TOMO. Now, fortunately for TOMO, one of my users requested several coins. So sorry if I miss out your other requests, Anu 007. I'm just trying to save a little bit of time, probably cover the other ones next week. Nice recent market structure for TOMO. Let me pull up a weekly so you can see in a little bit more detail. So very nice market structure for this. You can pretty much see a W in place. Unfortunately, the second low is lower than the first. We don't really like to see that, but it is what it is. So price found support recently at 25 cents. That kind of mixes up for the order block at this level set in December of last year. Let me zoom out a little bit. Oh, it's a weekly order block. Geez, so I mean, okay, so I'm just going to take a little bit of time on this to really show you the value of patience and waiting on moves. So we can see December of last year, TOMO had a big move up from 15 cents all the way up to 85. Hopefully none of our followers got caught up on this and you're patient enough to wait to show you, so I can show you how this should be done. So what you want to do in occasions like this, okay, you've missed the coin, it's moved away in price, you are now too late. Don't worry about it though, these things always come back. So all you want to do is identify the weekly bullish order block where possible, where price moved up from its original phase. So this is the one I can see. Again, don't worry if you can't tell these things, it's gonna come in time. I just know because I've been doing this for the better part of 5 years. I can just look and see it. So we can see price returned to this order block nearly a year later, spent a week here and pretty much moved away from 25 cents to nearly 75. So nearly a 3x movement. So forget about the potential returns you could have got on that. The thing you really want to look at is a strength of movement once it's touched this order block level. So zooming down on a daily chart, we can see literally it spent 1 day here. 1 day, guys. So, you know, sometimes you have to move fast. 1 day moved away. Actually didn't move away automatically, but did also give you guys then a few weeks if you missed that 1 day to get involved. You can see price moved away swiftly. It's a really nice market structure put in place at that low. So let's say you missed the low into the order block, you could still have got a decent entry if you recognize this market structure and a break of this high. Or if you want to be kind of, you know, pretty brave, you could do it on a break of this high. Delete that and get it out of the way. So as we mentioned, price has kind of moved from 25 cents to nearly 75, 72 to be accurate. Actually retraced back since. So again, giving you guys a chance to not FOMO, show that you can be patient. It's retraced to 42 cents. Area of interest to me would be a retrace of price into this like 25 to maybe 35 cents level and see how price reacts to these bullish order blocks at this price. So that's TOMO. Just coming to the final few coins. I know we've been going for a while. Someone asked us to look at Steps and Turbo coin, so let's pull this up. So Steps USD, let's go on a weekly. Again, I don't really have any prior knowledge of these coins, so you know, forgive me for any ignorance or when they were launched in the market cap. So one thing I can say, typical market structure for an altcoin, printed its highs, then retraced pretty much into a slow death, just now in this accumulation phase. So the accumulation is kind of varying, but the mean phase seems to be like a 0.002 cents. So 20,000 Satoshi in dollars. I don't know if that's actually a measurement, but yeah, 3 zeros and a 2 in terms of cents. Price is actually pumping hard away from these levels when it moves in. So let's actually see why. The only reason I can assume is because it's a very small market cap. And yes, as you can see, price has moved away on pretty much no or little volume. So in terms of analysis for Steps, not really much for us to go off because the market structure is so poor. All I can say is this seems to be like a mid-range of an accumulation zone. So if there are any fundamentals that make someone want to buy this coin, you know, technically it's potentially in a good range for you to do so. Last coin I want to look at is CBT. Oh no, missed out another one. So Turbo coin. I'm only looking at this because I like the name. So Turbo coin. Oh, it doesn't actually come up. Yeah, there we go. So very similar, looks to me like a small cap coin, actually launched in 2017, so it's had its bull run in that massive market cycle and went from an average or a low of $50,000 Oshi, as we'll call it, to a high of, no, that can't be right. So yeah, 500 Satoshi was the low, sorry, to a high of $57,000 Oshi. So potentially, you know, 100x there for someone, but that's how it was in them times. Since then, price has pretty much died, and as you can see, we've pretty much just been sat in this range broken all new lows, been sat in this range for the last year or so. Been several pumps in this time, but again, for me, this is just all noise on a small market cap. Pumped up, pumped down, pumped up, pumped down, pumped down, up, pumped down. So, I've done a little or no volume as well. So that's that in terms of turbo coin. Nothing really amazing that stands out in terms of technical analysis. And finally, the last coin we want to move on to is Commerce Block. Now, thank you for the follower who mentioned this. As we look on the chart, if you've got an eye for these things, you can pretty much see this is standing out straight away. If you don't, I'm going to explain why. So price has returned to these previous levels of accumulation set in 2018. This seems like a project that was launched in 2018, so didn't have that crazy price cycle from the year before. As you can see from looking here, price wicked into this level here in the last week even. So good timing. Previous lows were recently tested and dip into this order block here. And it will be interesting to see over the next few weeks how price reacts. We don't see any sign of a bottom just yet, and to see this, we always want to look for a short-term market structure. So as we mentioned, that W structure, which is pretty classic charting technique, we should be looking for something like this, potentially, a break of its previous highs at 0.35 cents. We're going to be looking at higher lows and higher highs. That's nothing we can see right now. On the upside, there may be resistance between 2 and 3 cents. We can see a lot of price action here. So as we mentioned before, when people buy into coins and price goes below their entry, sometimes they are so desperate just to break even that they'll just sell consistently at whatever price they got in at. Now, looking at the fact that the high was set last year, it would be interesting to do a fundamental analysis of this project to see the state of affairs and development. So definitely another one to keep an eye on. If you guys have any comments or anything you want to mention, please hit us up in the comments below. So that kind of wraps up this week's market review. It's been a bit of a long one because we had the extra coins as chosen by you guys. Thank you very much for everyone who got involved with that, and that's something we like to see for every market review going forward. These are here to help you guys with our opinion. As mentioned, please do not take any of this information as financial advice. It's just for educational purposes only. Big congratulations again to our prize winner, Mr. @Rabitco, or Miss @Rabitco. Sorry for assuming your gender. Prize will be over to you by tonight. Yeah, that pretty much wraps up this week's review. If there's any coins that you guys want to see for next week's review, please let us know in the comments below. Apart from that, thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you soon.